Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Clinic Gym Radio. I am your host, Dr. Josh Satterlee, and I am joined by the king and head doctor of North Dakota, Dr. Kirk Mason. How are you, Kirk?
I'm great, Josh. How are you?
I might have embellished there a little bit. There are actually two doctors in North Dakota, Kirk and his partner, but I'm just kidding. Yeah, how is life up in North Dakota?
It's good. It's actually been hot and humid up here, so it's been good though. Yeah, real good.
Have you been out trail running and kind of hitting the outdoors?
A little bit, yeah. I've been doing a little less running this year, I'd say, but getting back to shooting the bow, all that fun stuff up here. So. And
you recently bought some acreage where you could shoot the bow on your own property, right?
Heck yeah.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And my thought is that is a indirect relation to the fact that you kind of changed your business model a few years ago, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I want to dive into that. Some folks, if this is the first time you're listening to this podcast or you've never heard Kirk on, I've had him a few times, and Kirk is really one of the greatest clients we've ever had, because I think you took the information that we sold in our accelerator course and just gobbled it all up, implemented every bit of it, and then refined it and went through multiple iterations to really improve what you're offering to your patients. Yeah. Have that kind of right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic, man. Well, what I'd love with this one, Kirk, is if we can maybe talk about maybe your two biggest successes at this point. So give everybody a little snapshot of how long you've had the gym, how long you've had the clinic, and maybe talk about a couple super successes you're having so far.
Yeah, so it would have been end of 2018 is when we opened the gym. The clinic's been open since 2016. Mm-hmm. So then, I've discussed this before on the podcast, but we started with it in the same location. And then kind of the gym outgrew the small space that we had. So then we have two separate locations now. Mm-hmm. And we're coming up on, almost 3 years in the gym, which is crazy. Doesn't seem like that long.
Awesome. And just for people's kind of knowledge, describe a little bit of the physical setup of the clinic, like how many offices, how many doctors and all that, and then the physical setup of the gym so they can kind of get a perspective of what you're talking about.
Yes, we have about, I think, 1,800 square feet in the clinic. When we started the gym piece, it was about 700 square feet, 700 somewhere in there. And it's kind of a funky layout. So at that point we started at 4 people in a class, and then we moved to 6. And then we had said, if we get 40 members, that's probably time to, think about expanding. So our goal was to expand in the same location that we had, but we didn't get that opportunity. So then we did decide to go for a different location, which is brought about a whole bunch of learning curves and things like that of not being in the actual physical location. Yeah. And then the gym we're at now, which we moved into in 2019, the summer of 2019, that's about 2,300 square feet.
Okay. So you have an 1,800 square foot clinic. I remember you carved out, and when Kirk's saying it was a funky design, it was the funkiest design I've ever seen in my career of a gym. But again, you're such an implementer, dude. You're just like, I'm going to make this thing work come hell or high water, right? So you guys made it work in that funky space, and you got to you capped your membership at, what was it, like 40, and you guys hit that in 6 months, 8 months?
Yeah, it was about 6 months, I think. Yeah. And then
And
about that.
And I just appreciate the fact that you rolled with the punches, because for a while there, it appeared like you were going to be able to rent the space next to you and just expand out there, right?
Right, exactly.
It didn't work out. But Kirk cannot be stopped. He cannot be stopped. So he said, all right, well, if it can't be there, it has to be somewhere, and let's go down the street. And it's only 2 miles away or something. It's not far.
Yeah, it's like a 5-6 minute drive.
Yeah. But I'm guessing with what you just said that it certainly did teach you about, do I have systems in place, or do I just believe that I have systems in place?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're still, that's still being refined even now. Like the systems piece is,
I don't think it'll ever stop.
No, it's just a constant, constantly trying to make things better.
I listened to the Business Made Simple podcast with Don Miller, and he talks about flying an airplane. And I think that's a good analogy for business, because you're never going to stop touching the rudder and the throttle. Like it just never stops. Now, it might get a whole lot simpler and you're kind of cruising, but you're still paying attention. You're still looking at your gauges. You're still doing all that stuff.
Yes.
And it's, maybe the co-pilot flies for a while. You go to the bathroom, you come back, you're going to double check the gauges. You're going to double check the rudder. Like, yeah, I know you know how to fly this thing. Well, I'm just, I'm going to take a look. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cause you have to be, very trusting that when you're not there, obviously that things are going to run like you want them to. So you have to have good systems and then good employees to run those systems too.
Yeah. Yep. So, well, before we go into the kind of the learning things, let's go into some successes. I mean, like you're here, you're a 3-year gym owner, you're a 5-year clinic owner.
Yep.
When you sit back and kind of, have a cold beer at the end of a week and think about what you're grateful for, what do you think the 2 or 3 biggest successes from the addition of a gym have been?
I would say like the thing that I always like, because I really like being in clinic. I like treating patients. So I know like some people don't love that, but I actually really like that piece. So for me, it's almost like if people move to a new town and they go and they try to make all these connections at different gyms and stuff. Well, it's like I have that, but it's my gym instead of it being someone else's gym. So I know exactly what workout's going on. I know what the trainer's doing. I like to have that little bit of control over that stuff, I guess. Because you can have a good relationship and you can tell trainers stuff, but I think everyone out there's had the experience of maybe it not going as you had recommended.
That's what started mine too. I mean, it was just like I was sick of sending people out to trainers I knew, I trusted them. I'd done workshops with them. I thought they were great people. They had a great business model, but I still had people go to them for 6 weeks, come back to me to work on the same injury we just discharged them for 6 weeks ago. And I call it the ping pong patient. I hated that because the person just gets fatigued and they're going to give up something. They're either going to give up coming to see me or they're going to give up the gym, neither one of which is better for them, so we're both kind of contributing for that. So I felt that as well. And that's when I was like, hey, we're going to bring it in-house and we're going to train people exactly how to work. So yeah.
And I love that. Yeah. I love, we do group and then we also do some one-on-one. So then we can, tailor a plan to whatever kind of the patient would benefit most from kind of thing.
Yeah. And the other thing that people should know, I think, about your setup is your head coach or head trainer or whoever was running the gym, at least to start. I don't know how your setup is now, but she basically had started out as your rehab assistant, right? Like you trained her in every DNS.
Yes, I trained. She didn't actually. We had Sydney still coaches for us, and she's our rehab CA2 still. And then Carolyn was our other girl who came from a photography background. So I just trained her up basically to know everything that I wanted her to know, basically.
Yeah. But I think that people, if you're thinking about starting this and you get to a point where you have a 2,500 square foot gym, it sometimes can seem intimidated, but just start teaching them the rehab. And what I don't think that people realize in this model, and I don't know if you notice this too, Kirk, but your customers, clients, whatever you want to call them in the gym, will be blown away with the expertise when your people know how to regress exercise, how to make things easier for them.
Yes.
I don't think that the same is true of making workouts really hard. Like it's nice to have a trainer that'll push you and, that thing was hard. But as soon as somebody has some pain or they're like, hey, I want to take it easy today. If your people can step in and make it easier, that's impressive. And when your trainers start out in your rehab facility, that they're doing low level exercise, like the lowest level. But I think we kind of like forget how impressive that is.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. I think, so we have a new chiropractor that came in too, and he has been teaching like a couple classes a week. And I think that's valuable for like all chiropractors. If you like, I know you've recommended that during school, if you can become a personal trainer, I think that's like crazy valuable because what I learned starting out and what he has been learning is that a fitness class with 9 people in it is a whole lot different than like a one-on-one training. And if you're there, you don't want to, there's a delicate balance with like fitness that you don't want to over cue either. And I think that's like us as clinicians, we're in there, we're like making it absolutely perfect. But on the fitness side, it's like, it's not going to be 100% perfect. There's a variability there that you kind of have to be comfortable with. So that's been, super good for him. But like Sydney, she's our rehab CA, and she like blends those lines super good. She's really great at it. So
fantastic.
But I totally agree.
Yeah. So that was one kind of positive note. What's knowing that you have I don't want to say control, but it's knowing you know that the product is what you want, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's being delivered the way you want it. What's another one as far as successes?
I think I've had a few people reach out to me, usually after I do these podcasts, actually, just like asking questions about how much
I just
time.
want my 10%. That's all, I remember that agreement, right? No.
They always ask like how much time I'm putting into the gym.
Yeah.
And the more we've got into this, the less time I have to put in, which is like, you have a business that runs itself essentially. And I put in maybe like, a couple hours a week into the gym, unless it's something big happening, then I'll do a little more, but I don't teach classes there. I'll fill in every now and then, but I'm not like on the schedule for teaching. And I check my stats like once a week, and then I have ones that I check once a month. But other than that, I really don't put in a whole lot of time into it. So that's one thing that, for all like the chiropractors out there, we always trade time for an income. Whereas in this model, you can start to build something where you don't have to do that. So I always thought that was super cool about this model.
Yeah. And along those lines, from the business model, like to build that up, what % of your members at your gym were first patients?
At the start, it was a lot more.
It was basically 100%, right? Everybody in the challenges and stuff was straight out of the clinic.
Pretty close. Yeah. I'd say like 90% to start. I would say that start as patients, I would say like 30% maybe.
Okay. In your first 6 months of the new location, do you think it was higher than that?
Probably a little bit higher. Yeah. I would say the first like year and bleeding into the second year was a lot of from the clinic, but it's kind of like it's just became its own business essentially.
Yeah, it takes a while to kind of start spinning on its own, but once it does, you get the internal gym referrals and all that stuff. But,
exactly. So now it's like back and forth. Like if I have a patient that I want to send for a few workouts, I'll do that. But then also, if someone's been there in pain, has an injury, they'll come see us. So it's still like the blended model. It's just the gym now has, I would say like a reputation where we live, where it's like, it's up there with like a CrossFit and Minot, or like, Solid Core, like all those ones that have their own name. We started to build that a little bit more, which has been cool.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. So there are some successes, and I know you don't strike me as somebody that's really financially motivated. Like you're doing it because you love it, right?
Right. Yes.
But now at this point, 3 years into the gym, does it also help you bring home a little bit more? Like you're saying, you don't have to pay attention to it. It's easy, but is it starting to be like enough money where you're like, wow, this is maybe not matching what you make from the clinic, but it's a decent amount of money, and I can afford a newer truck or a new house or whatever?
Yeah, it's starting to get better for sure. With like the gym business compared to, I would say, the chiro side, like our margins are just smaller. Like we really have to watch our overhead. We really have to know our numbers really, really tight in the gym side. Whereas, you have to know that in the chiro side. I guess it depends where you practice too. North Dakota is a really good place to practice. So,
and there's some differences in the fact, like a fitness business is much more volatile based on just the time of year. Let's just say that. Absolutely. I mean, there's other factors, but that one especially. Whereas, and one thing you have in a clinic that I don't see this in a gym is like, let's say you go in on Monday and there's, 30 people on your schedule for the day, and it being Monday, you get 5 cancellations. Yeah. Most of the time when you're, at your point, 5 years into practice, there's people actively calling in to say, can I get in today as well? So most of those spots will fill back up. Not all of them, but all. In fitness, if you lose somebody, it's not like, hey, can I join your gym real quick today? I'm dying for a workout, you know?
Yes, totally different that way.
You have to be going outreaching more to get the people in.
Yes. Like, yeah, that's a perfect way to put it. Like my brother-in-law was asking me, I think like a year ago, he's like, what are the differences? I'm like when you grow your chiro business, it's kind of like after 3 to 5 years, like we don't have to do much marketing. We do a little bit on the chiro side, but like people just come back in. It's kind of a model where you don't have to do a ton after a certain amount of time. You have to do it at the start, but not after a while. The gym business, I would say you have to constantly have like a marketing schedule. You have to constantly work on your systems of not only like bringing people in, but retaining them for a period of time, which is, I find that fun though. Like I find, like it's a little more of a, I would say a true like business owner, entrepreneur type venture.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because you can get lazy in your clinic. Like once that wheel starts turning into just like, no matter what you do, you've got whatever, you know. I was talking to Dan Leonard one time. He's like, yeah, if I don't do anything, I have 120 patient visits a week. If I really push the limits, I have 123 visits a week. You know, it's like, right. It's just a horrible teacher. But then when, I think one of your huge advantages, strangely, was the fact that you had to move that business 2 miles down the street. Because it has to live on its own, right? You can't.
Right.
Sometimes people cloud the numbers with, the gym did this, and you're like, well, if it wasn't right next to the clinic, I don't know if that would actually be happening.
Absolutely. And we actually we had someone who was working out with us who was actually an old patient, and she had approached us about, buying into the business. So I didn't sell any of my shares, but Becky had sold some of hers. So we have another owner now too with Premier Movement. So we had to like really clean up our numbers and like make sure it's a completely separate business because she's not a chiropractor. So that was a whole new learning process too, which was super cool.
Yeah, nice. Well, let's go into some learning processes. I mean, this is a good segue. So it, like any business, it can be tough, but what do you think your biggest 3 lessons are sitting here at the 3-year mark?
In terms of like stuff I would have done different, I would say like when we moved into our new space, I don't like our layout. The one thing I really don't like and that you don't see in like studio gyms that like Orange Theory or something like that is I would personally make the front desk separated from the gym. So it would be like, you wouldn't have the music playing because after a class ends and stuff like that, if you have someone at the front desk trying to sign someone up for a membership or things like that, it's annoying when the other class is starting, you have the music blaring, and then you're trying to like get someone signed up. So I would separate those if it were me, because that just kind of grinds my gears. And then what else? We went through a bunch of iterations like with our workouts and things like that. Like the systems piece is really big because I would say we've slowly gotten better at that over the years too, with like the challenges and things like that. But I would say at the start, it was pretty sloppy. It was, you're just kind of piecing it together.
Mm-hmm. Do you mean sloppy as in like you had good training, just not organized or not flowing? Or do you mean like,
exactly.
Okay.
I would, even like the outreach methods, like in terms of retention and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And COVID made it tough for a lot of that too. But our retention, like, because we were doing good, moved into the new space. And then shortly after we moved into the new space, like 8 months later, COVID hit. So we were kind of building at that point and then dropped quite a bit. But that also, we just got to refine a lot of stuff in terms of like our systems and things like that. The actual workouts, I mean, we have like kind of a structure how we do it, but then it's also keeping it fun and exciting for everyone. Because the number one thing you learn is that like if people are actually going to stick around, it just can't be boring. That's like the number one thing.
I was talking to somebody about that yesterday, and how as humans, we have this, like you've gone through a season of like a lot of like, for a while, you're doing a lot of OCRs, obstacle course racing, and Spartans, and all those.
Right.
You did well. And then I think there's been seasons for you like where weightlifting is the thing, or kettlebell training, right? And
Yeah,
so it's
absolutely.
like, yeah. And I was saying that we have this weird thing as humans. Like, I have a friend, he described it well. He said, in the summer or in the winter, we go to our family cabin every winter, and it's the same, right? We go there, it's nostalgic, it's reassuring, it's the tradition. But in the summer, we go somewhere new every year. And it's like, you need both those things. Like, your members want to feel like they know how you do things. So like, for example, at our place, it was like you walk in, grab a foam roller, and start foam rolling. And that was like where people congregated. So I would never want to take that piece away, but then I would change the warm up that happens right after the foam rolling.
Right.
You know, because when you see that ingrained behavior of this is just what we do here, I'm like, I want to allow for some of that while also saying, hey, today we're deadlifting, and therefore we're really going to warm up and do some band exercises for your glutes and, you know, erectors and some breathing work. Whereas if we're doing something else, like, you know, if we're doing overhead presses, right? Like that was a big part. I would have changed the warm up. So like balancing those two things, it's fun, but you do need to like pay attention to that. Cause I think you're right. If it's exactly the same, people are like, wow.
Yeah, they check out. And I think that's one of the things that people love so much about something like CrossFit too, is that like, it's always different. And then they walk in and they have that camaraderie of, man, that was a hard workout. It's different each time. They don't know what to expect. So yeah, it's just kind of,
and that also gives everybody an opportunity. Like, Kirk, if you're a runner and if there's running in the workout, you're going to whip my butt. But you know, if it comes to like something else, like, oh, you got to do deadlifts or something, and I can beat you at that helps with retention. You want to provide some source of everybody to have some success, right?
Yep.
Or if they're in last place in the run, can they just not be in last place on something else? Like, oh, wow, Jimmy actually is in only third place in the overhead press or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, finding something for them all to excel at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Especially like in the challenge environment, because if anybody's listening that's run challenges, you become aware real quick. There are some people that, I don't know how to say it nicely, they're just getting their ass kicked by everything you're asking them to do.
Right.
And on some regard, I go, man, I feel for this person. There's no way this is fun for them. Right.
Right.
This is like, maybe I've had people, I don't know if you had anybody in your challenges, they're like 50 and it's literally the first time they've ever been in a gym in their life.
Right.
And you're like, I want to honor that. I want you to succeed. I want to do it. But I can't, it's like with your kid, like I can't make it easy. I want you to learn how to ride a bike, and I'll support you any way I can. But listen, you're going to fall down. You're going to skin your knee. You're going to cry, and I'm going to help you back on that bike, and I'm going to push it again, but you're going to start pedaling,
Right.
It's fun, but man, it's a challenge. It is such a challenge to balance all those things. Because then you get those challengers too that sign up because you're like, let's admit it, you're here because you want to whoop everybody's butt. Like that's what you do,
Right. Yeah, we have like such a broad range in our classes too. Like there's times a day where you'll get a little older crowd and get, younger, tends to be our 5 a.m., 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's 75-year-olds and then there's 23-year-olds all working out in the same class, which is super fun and super cool.
Yeah. Yep. So it's it is rewarding too. I think that's one thing that, for those listening, thinking about this, the one thing I'll say is when you start getting a gym either as part of your business or physically in the same business, the energy that it transfers into your clinic is huge. Way more high fives, way more hugs and sweaty smiles and all that stuff. And the worst days of when you just have a clinic of like where you see 3 people in line who all have like acute, horrible, horrendous pain. If you just all of a sudden hear from the gym side, woo, people like, get it, Kirk. Yeah. All of a sudden it's like,
absolutely.
Oh, okay. I can go another 2 hours of clinic work,
Yes. And I would probably throw that. I don't think it was a mistake to go to a different location, but I'll say when our leases from both places are up in 2 years, we're going to be hoping to buy a place with them together again. So if you have the option, I would keep it together just because it makes it a whole lot easier. I don't think it was a mistake because we did get a chance to experience what that was like one of our goals for the future is to open a gym in like a different town in North Dakota, say like Bismarck or Grand Forks or Fargo. So that would be, you know, is a big learning experience for us in that like we're never there other than, you know, I go over to work out, but other than that, I'm not there. I'm at the clinic all the time.
Yeah.
So just, you know, running a business like that, it was very eye-opening and it's been good. But yeah, I would say if you have the chance, keep it in the same place.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Other mistakes, anything else you would change in the way you did things or the money you spent? Did you spend any money in an area that you're like, this was dumb?
Yeah. I bought way too many machines. That was so stupid. We were only having classes of 9. And then I bought 6 assault treads. I bought 6 ski ergs and 6 Rogue Echo bikes. And really, the way we structure it, the most we would ever use is 4. So I have no idea why I thought 6 was necessary. So well, luckily, that was like...
Those 3 pieces of equipment are also the most expensive things in your gym, right? Like, it's not like 6 extra sets of dumbbells or something. You could have floated that. They're like 800 to 1,500 a piece. Or the treads are like $5,000 each, right?
Yeah, I think they're like 3,200 a piece. Yeah.
That's awesome. That feels really good.
But yeah, Becky and I got to bring those home for our home gyms now.
Yeah, so. You got one at home. She's got one at home.
Yep.
Parents have one. Like, there's plenty to go around at Christmas, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that was stupid. That was like the only equipment thing we really messed up on.
Let me ask you this, because I think there's a learning opportunity here. When we talked about flow of the workouts, I think one thing that is not apparent when you open is how much the floor plan sometimes has to change, or the flow of things. Like we originally thought we'd end here, but that like we at one point were finishing by the front desk to make it easier for everybody because we had cubbies. That created such a traffic jam of people coming in and going out. It was like, and we just had this little doorway and it's like salmon fighting upstream, you know?
Right.
And so we kind of changed where the start point was and the finish point was, and it just totally improved the flow of workouts as well. Have you guys gone through that iteration yet?
Yep. We, like at the start, we would do sets and reps. So we had 3 sets of 8 or whatever. One big thing that helped us a lot, because we had people that were like, had never worked out before. And then we had people that were pretty high level endurance athletes or whatever in the same class. So they were like the higher end athletes were frustrated because it was moving too slow. The lower end people felt like they were rushed. So now we just do a time thing. We say we put reps on it, but we don't put sets. We just do a time. And that helped. Oh my gosh, it helped our flow so much because it just keeps everyone. I kind of stole that from Orange Theory.
So let me just make sure I understand. So like if we're doing goblet squats, do you put people in groups?
Yeah, we do. And then we superset it.
Okay. So like goblet squats, and you're just going to say perform 8 at a time, and you're going to perform this for, let's just say 11 minutes or some time. And what that means is Kirk is in super good shape. He's been running. He can bust out 5 sets of that in 11 minutes. And I'm kind of a new challenger and I'm struggling and I'm not in that great shape. Maybe I get 2 or 3 sets, but it does fill up basically the 11 minutes with my recovery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And that was, all our trainers really appreciated that too, because they were kind of stressed with like trying to get everyone to switch and everything like that. Now it's just on the timer, beep, you're done, we're switching.
And we're moving on to something else at the end of it.
Yep. No matter how much you got done.
Yeah. Time. I mean, that clock is like one of the things you got to respect so much. And a 63-minute class is a complete failure.
Yeah.
You know, though, like you have 7 minutes there that are like absolute chaos. Like it's crazy how just going over a little bit is like total explosions and people hate it.
Yeah.
You know?
And then I guess another thing with our flow was we get people to foam roll before class if they want. And then we do our warm up. And then one thing we did at the start, we just let them warm up and then we would do the demos. But now we do warm up. And as they're warming up, our coaches are going through the demos. So that saved us a little time too. Because right now we finish around like 56, 57 minutes every time.
Yeah, perfect.
Before we were borderline going over on some of those classes, which I hated. So yeah, because we run it, we'll run 5, 6, 7. So you gotta have your times down.
Yeah, it's that pressure, especially on your busy nights. So like Mondays, I don't know, is Monday the biggest day in your gym?
It's up there, yeah. I would say probably.
Yeah,
or
Tom
Wednesday.
Plummer said that 60%. No, wait, I'm sorry. 42% of all the people come in your gym will come in on Monday because it's kind of the reset for the week. Like, all right, this is the week.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then by Thursday, they're out drinking with their buddies, like eating hot wings. Like, oh, I was totally going to go to the gym, but
Yeah, Friday nights are easily our worst time.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's fun. So floor plan can change. Like this is one reason a lot of people ask me about turf, and here's my opinion. My current thinking is do not install turf on day one. Install just all rolled rubber flooring. You can move everything around.
Right.
Change, because you're going to go through 5 or 6 versions of like, hey, we should put the weights over here, squat racks over here, weight trees here.
Yep.
So blank rubber canvas is better. And then maybe about a year in, I think you kind of have it figured out. And then you can say, hey, if there's room, here's a perfect place for turf.
Right.
Worst
like
is
we have.
Go ahead.
Sorry, you can go. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, like when you lay turf out and then you realize 6 months in that it's 90 degrees compared to where you'd want it now, it's the worst. It's absolutely the worst.
Oh, I know. Yeah. We in terms of I've been thinking about the new spot.
Mm-hmm.
We probably have, a couple hundred at least exercises that we roll through. Of those exercises, we do sleds, not very often. And then we use sliders. So those are the only things we need turf for. So I don't know. It would make absolutely zero difference to our clients if we had turf or not. It was more of I wanted turf kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if someone,
and you can get those, Torque makes those wheeled sleds. They look like a sled, but they have wheels.
Yeah. I've seen them.
Yeah. I mean, they work pretty good. And then the sliders, here's a crazy thing. Try those sliders on the rubber. Have you tried them yet?
Yeah. It's not that bad.
It's not. It's shockingly, and I go to the turf and I'm like, that's not that much better. Carpet's huge. Carpet is super slick, but the turf is actually not as slick as you think.
Right.
And then the other thing is, I don't know, do you have slide boards in your gym?
No, we don't.
Yeah. When you're looking for a new cardio piece of equipment, I think slide boards are one of those multi-use things because you can get some really good cardio. I like the fact that it goes lateral instead of linear, because running, jump rope, sleds, treadmill, erg, rower, it's all, same plane, and then changing it up a little bit challenges people. Yeah. And then you can also lay them down when you want to do really slick, so you can have an athlete at either end of it doing, so say sliding lunges or something really challenging. So
or hamstring curls or something.
And then, if you want to store them, you can get them pretty close to the wall. They're super thin in storage,
Yeah.
They're really long and
point.
Gangly, but you can get them really kind of tight, tucked in. So anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Instead of spending another $30,000 on equipment, just buy one slide board for $700 and see what you think.
Yeah. When we move into that new location, right now, as of today, I would not have turf. I just wouldn't have it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like chrome rims on your truck. It looks super cool.
Yes.
But when you get down to does this actually change performance? It really doesn't,
Not much. Yeah. No. Yeah, exactly.
Now, if you're a 10,000 square foot facility and and therefore your turf is long enough to actually run sprints on and do agility drills and big time stuff, different conversation. But 1,500 square feet, 2,000 square feet, it's hard to get it long enough.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. And I mean, if you're at a college where sleds are a huge portion of what you do, I love sleds, but at the same time, I could live with my clients not doing sled pushes. It's important, but it's not a
make or break,
not a live or die exercise. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. All right. So we got money. We got, I can't remember what your other learning curve was. Oh, the flow of the workouts and going to a time-based. Let me ask you this. One thing that people always ask about is finding the right trainer.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, I know you're a moderator in the Facebook group, and And so you see these questions too about like, hey, I'm hiring a trainer. And it's always funny to me. And I try and be as kind as I can. People are like, what certifications should I look for? Or they're NSCA certified, but they're not XYZ certified. And my feeling right now is that stuff just does, those certifications do not matter as much as other things. I don't want to say they don't matter. It shows a person's dedicated. They've done education. They're interested in this, but it doesn't matter as much as other factors when you go to hire. So what learning experiences have you had around hiring people? And it's especially great coming from Kirk, everybody listening, because again, he doesn't have a choice to watch the gym all the time. Like you physically have to run the clinic. You got to be there for your patients. You got to make money there. So it's pop in at best, right? And then sometimes I'm going to guess you go days, maybe even a week between pop-ins just because of the way things happen.
Yeah. I haven't been to the gym. I've done a couple weeks at a time without popping in before.
Right. Fantastic.
Yeah. So I would say, just like you said, like, I don't know, it depends on your confidence in yourself to teach the knowledge that you have to someone else. So if you think you can teach all the things that like a CFSC would teach and get that thought process and all of those little things through to a trainer as to where you're confident with them running a class, then it just doesn't matter what certification they have. It matters. Like you said, it matters. They're important to have. And I've done the CFSC, I've done a bunch of them. But if you're an owner and you're basing hiring someone off of that, I just don't do that at all. I barely even peek at what certification they have. I kind of take a quick glance and then I meet the person. Like I just hired a trainer probably like 3-4 months ago. Literally sat down with her, knew within like 2 minutes that she was going to be amazing. And like people love her because her personality was, you could pick up on it right away. She was bubbly. She was fired up. I'm like, yeah, when can you start kind of thing. So we started training her. And then it's between me and like the other trainers. Well, we have like a process that they have to go through to be certified. And then we'll co-teach with our other trainers for a couple weeks, and then we'll put them in on their own. But yeah, it's just like, I would hire off personality way more than I would hire based off what qualifications someone has. I just don't think it's like you said, people ask that all the time in the group, and it's important a little bit, but it's not nearly as important as some people make it out to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's weird being a human being sometimes because you're like, that certification tells me that they're a personal trainer, but it's like, we all went to school with people that I would never let them near my mom. I would never let them treat my dad, like.
Absolutely.
Get away. Like, I don't care what letters you have after your name.
Yes.
And then there are the people that have essentially no letters after their name and they're incredible, Yes. And you can have both. I mean, Brett Winchester, he's amazing at everything he does. I'm sure that guy, when he's throwing the ball to his kid, is amazing.
Right.
And has 28,000 letters after his name, which is great. But then there's people that have similar letters and I'm like, you just don't have it. You don't.
Right.
And
then, the thing about, if you even think about like, I went to a bunch of seminars from Brett and stuff when I was younger. If you think about him, he only has so many hours in the day too. So like he has all those things, but he doesn't necessarily like teach classes at his gym and stuff. You have to be able to teach other people how, you have to be able to transfer your knowledge. And if you can't do that, then you're going to have a really hard time. Then maybe if you're not good at doing that, then maybe look at a little more at like the certifications they have or something like that. But if you're able to transfer your knowledge to someone else, then I think it just allows you to pick the right person and not necessarily the right certification.
Yeah, I love that. So just out of curiosity, looking forward, I mean, you're thinking about maybe opening other gyms in other towns across North Dakota. So for anybody who doesn't know, the towns in North Dakota are basically 2 hours, 3 hours apart. Like,
yeah, Fargo's 4 from us, but everything else is 2-3 hours.
Yeah. I mean, I'm saying that because like if you're in Dallas, Fort Worth, like you can't really tell the difference between where Dallas ends and Fort Worth begins, or Los Angeles and Glendale, like they're blended.
Totally different.
So yeah, these are isolated and separate. And so when you get to that point and you're looking at how you're going to build up that business, how do you think you'll find the right people?
I mean, it's nice to know people in the town. Like a lot of our hires have been through people we know. So that's what does make it tricky in a different town. But yeah, I think like the more people I've interviewed, the more you can pick up on like people's energy and things like that.
Yeah.
Like I said, like when our one trainer came in, Rachel, she was like, I knew immediately. I'm like, and then there's some people that have came in and interviewed and I'm like, ooh, I don't think that would be a good fit. Like you're running a group class. You have to be energized, not just for 1 hour, but for maybe 3 hours straight. Like it takes a certain type of person to keep up that energy the whole time. It's just like chiropractic. It's like, if someone's going to keep their energy up, that's why we have breaks in between patients sometimes, and where we cluster book is because if we're literally doing that for 8 hours straight and you're trying to keep up your energy the whole time, there's some people that can do it. Yeah. Some people that can't. So
yeah,
I think
I have a buddy who's like one of these high volume guys down in Florida. And I can't, he sees an insane number of people, like 320 a day is like a normal day.
Oh
He's seen 450 in a day.
That's insane.
The guy is like, if you get him near a light bulb, that light bulb will light up. Like the world cannot resist his energy level. He's the only person I've ever seen like that. He's the only one.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But
exactly. For me, like I've actually got to split my days up a little better now that I've gotten like further into clinic. So I'll treat in the morning. I'll take like a 2-3 hour break over lunch. I'll go work out, things like that. And then I'll come back. And that's what works best for me. Cause then I have like all the energy I want in the afternoon. So I've found, I was just like not one of those guys that could do that for 8 hours straight. I was so exhausted at night when I was doing that. So you just kind of got to find.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of like hiring in a different town, still figuring that out. I think that's going to be like super tricky.
How big do you think you'd go if you were looking for a spot?
Around 2,500 square feet, maybe 3,000. I don't think I'd go much bigger than that.
Okay. How about like shape? Would you want a long rectangle? Would you want a square?
Long rectangle would be ideal for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, that's an experience thing. You kind of realize like,
I
think 2,500 square feet is 2,500 square feet is 20. And it's like, no, it could totally be screwed up.
Totally different. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So, well, that's great, man. I'm really excited to hear this, Kirk. Congratulations on all your success, buddy. And
thank you.
It's super exciting to see you get to this point. And like, it's never done, but it sounds like you're at a really good spot now. So when you see Becky next, Keller, congratulations. That's Kirk's business partner and was there when it started as the, I don't even know how to describe that. It looked like the shape from Tetris. That is your gym originally. It was like the one that always screws up and you lose your game. That shape is your gym, just like it screws up. That's
actually really true.
Tetris game, yeah. So awesome.
So perfect.
Well, Kirk, if people want to reach out like they often do and kind of chat with you, I know you're always so willing to help. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Yeah, I'd say on Facebook is probably the easiest. Anyone in the Facebook group or anything like that, just reach on out. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. And for people listening, like I think, if you look at the people that have the courage to post their questions up in the group, a lot of times it opens up great discussions. I mean, I learn stuff all the time still like, oh, wow, I've never tried that or thought about that. I'm like, that's fantastic. So I really like that. So reach out to Kirk on Facebook and post up in the group because it's always a learning experience for everybody. It's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, in that group, you have some absolute stud gym owners. So people might not realize like how successful Brian is or Dan is. Like, I mean, Brian, some guys with a ton of knowledge.
Brian's average retention is like 7.5 years.
Isn't that insane?
Like, give that a thought. Like, you're not even halfway to his average.
I know.
Isn't that? Yeah. And for those listening, like retention in the gym game it's the biggest profit margin you have. If you can just retain people and not lose them.
Yes.
It's insane. So it
makes life so much easier when you can worry about retaining rather than bringing in new clients. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yep. And the fact that Brian's done that is, he's definitely a sleeper in there. Like people don't realize
such a sleeper,
just a stud.
He's such that's a perfect way to put it. Like people, if you have any questions and like those guys are weighing in on it, I would listen closely.
Yeah. Write down what Brian says. Like,
yes.
Yeah. So I was talking to somebody out here and they said they're at this big meeting in Las Vegas. So those listening, I'm in Las Vegas, and there are some major players that really have started like the different casinos, like Steve Wynn. I'm sure you've heard of Steve Wynn. Like he's started the Bellagio and Mirage and everything, then his own hotel. There's a guy named Michael Gahn, who a lot of people don't know about, but a friend of mine was on a board meeting and Michael Gahn was there, and he's a very quiet, older guy, probably in his 70s. And my friend said that these guys, there's like everybody that runs a major casino is around this table. So there's like 14, 18 people, arguing back and forth. And Michael Gahn like raises his hand and leans in and he goes, I think the way we want to think about this. And my friend Dale said, as soon as he said that, everybody who knew who he was and knew how successful he was is like flipping over placemats to write on the back. Is like, he said one guy's like writing on his hand because he's like, give me a pen, give me a damn pen. Like, it's just like, if that guy opens his mouth. That's
amazing.
And I think that's kind of Brian in the group, like.
Yes.
He's a stud. So anyways, all right.
Yeah,
well,
I know, like I listen to a lot of like the Two Brain Business stuff too. And I mean, he's a guy to listen to. That's for sure.
And he's been through it, man. I don't know if you heard his backstory, but he worked for.
I heard him on your podcast.
Yeah. He's been through the ringer. So, I mean, it's not like he just stumbled into success. Like he got
exactly.
He's some scars on his chin from taking some punches, like that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
So. It's great. All right, Kirk. Well, I really appreciate it. And just for everybody listening, why don't you share the name of your gym and your clinic in case they want to check out Facebook and some pictures and all that stuff?
Yep. So Premier Chiropractic is our chiropractic clinic. And then we kept the name super similar with Premier Movement for our gym. And in Minot, North Dakota is where we are.
There you go. All right. Well, on behalf of the incredible Kirk Mason, this is Josh Satterlee saying, go out there. Do what Kirk's done. Maximize your license so you can live the life you dream of. Thanks a lot, Kirk.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks so much for checking out these videos. I hope they're useful. We'll cover things like rehab, exercise, business model, progressions, layout, everything else that helps you build a clinic. So if you're interested, you can click here, there, here, or anywhere to get more videos just like this. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you soon.